Soft, scary agent's corpse. Dead Rising.
Dead Rising was the brainchild of Keiji Inafune, a former vice president at Capcom who happened to be the character designer and producer of many Mega Man games, as well as the Onimusha franchise. The concept was to create a survival horror game set in a shopping mall, kinda like a George Romero zombie movie. Capcom was supposedly reluctant to take on the idea, and was more interested in using money and resources developing familiar titles like Resident Evil. But I guess the suits eventually figured out that having two exclusive games on the 360 would be something beneficial to them and Microsoft.
Graphics might vary between versions.
In Dead Rising, we play as Frank West, intrepid photojournalist, as he investigates a riot in a sleepy Colorado town.
What's going on around here anyway?
But that riot turns out to be a zombie outbreak!
Did you just say zombies?
Frank takes refuge in the town's major and only attraction, the shopping mall. There he rescues people and attempts to investigate the root cause of the zombie incident.
So why don't you just tell me already? What's going on?
You have 72 hours to get the skinny. The game progresses in an accelerated manner, not real time, so you gotta hustle. Dead Rising exists in a gray area where it's a little bit of a survival horror game and a little bit of a 3D action game. The goal is to survive overwhelming odds with limited saves and resources, like in Resident Evil or Silent Hill. But you have more options and moves than you would have compared to other survival horror games. The products in the mall become part of your inventory. There's all kinds of funny ways to arm yourself. And dress up Frank.
Yeah.
There's something so satisfying, so right about wearing a Servbot head. Besides what you can grab in the mall, Frank gains several wrestling moves as you level up with the game's prestige point system. Killing zombies in creative ways, defeating bosses, saving hostages, and taking photographs, among other things, earn you prestige points. With photographs, getting closer to a zombie, taking pictures of several zombies, or taking pictures with survivors earn you the big bucks. So the riskier the photo, the better the reward.
Great shot. Perfect. Fantastic. Great shot. Trying to get away, huh?
Frank starts off very weak. When you consider that, limited items, limited saves, Dead Rising is a little bit of a challenge. I'd say that a novice player could die very easily and very early in a run. To offset the challenge, you can continue playing with a new save file, where you're allowed to keep Frank's moves and prestige points, but you lose all your progress in the mall. It's a unique, but potentially frustrating trade-off. What's more beneficial to you? Save your character, or save your progress? Dead Rising is one of those games I've always admired, but not necessarily loved. I've always thought of it as a really good game that falters in a few key places. First of all, while the melee combat is mostly good, aiming with handguns and projectile weapons kinda stinks. These shooting and aiming mechanics haven't aged very well. My biggest issue is that the survivors you have to rescue in the mall are total idiots. It's like they're practically begging for their deaths. If you lose track of them, they die.
Aw, Leah, don't die off screen, come on.
If you accidentally hurt them, they turn on you, and then you have no choice but to kill them. During escort missions, they have a death wish. They're stupid! Or maybe suicidal. Well, at least Brad wasn't a total moron.
The air ducts. They'll get us back into the mall.
I think one of the keys to Dead Rising being a cult title is Frank himself. He's not bland, but he's not outrageous either. He's funny, but not in an in-your-face kind of way. I've always found the actor's performance as Frank totally natural. He comes off as not a cartoon character, but a real person. Dead Rising would go on to have modest sales and start a new Capcom franchise. Frank would quickly become a favorite of both Capcom employees and gamers alike, making several cameos and appearances in other games.
Frank West, ladies and gentlemen! Okay. You got me.
I would say that Dead Rising could be summed up as a fun, if slightly flawed, survival horror game. It was good enough to spawn many sequels, and it has a charismatic main character who still somehow manages to find his way onto our TV screens all these years later. There's no question that Dead Rising has made its mark on the Capcom universe and gamers alike. It's not Resident Evil, and it doesn't really need to be. It does its own thing, and it does it just fine. The way you acquire weapons actually kind of reminds me of the PS2 game State of Emergency. Remember State of Emergency?